So I continue to work in the world of Geospatial 2.0, and it keeps striking me that there is an inevitability to the evolution of geospatial into the world that I call Geospatial 2.0. And it's one of those ones that when you kind of see it, it's obvious, but if you haven't yet seen it, it's not clear. And I remember going back in time, and when the web first appeared, I remember then talking to people say, this is going to be this inevitable thing. And there was an element of pushback because it was so new and people were thinking kind of in the older way of thinking, and the jump to this new place was difficult. Same with mobile, actually. But again, there is a certain inevitability about what 2.0 will be and how it's emerging. Let me just kind of walk through the inevitability of that. I've used that word 3 times now. So there are really 4 elements that I define, not on the technical side, in terms of explaining what 2.0 is. It involves context, insight, reasoning or intelligence, and action. Let me kind of walk through those for you just to really paint that picture more clearly. Context is where we begin. That's really what is about what's happening. It's having a sense of seeing the whole system. And it involves static assets, homes, buildings, roads, and also things that change. That might be a storm, that might be a person. So we have this set of inputs which really set the stage for an area that we're particularly focused on. So from context comes insight. Insight is really connecting those dots. Insight is, what does it all mean? So again, it's giving us a sense of turning that raw data into something that we can actually knowledge in essence. Essentially, it's taking those raw pieces, those data elements, connecting them together and getting some level of insight. People often call it actionable insight. That's the common term in Geospatial 1.5. Things like, let's talk about the storm one, which is an easy one. New Orleans. There's a storm coming towards New Orleans. Insight would be understanding in New Orleans where those low-lying areas are in the city. Maybe seeing a 3D model of New Orleans to see in those low-lying areas are there lots of one-story homes. Maybe there are lots of retirement communities there. There's a real danger for those communities if there's a flood danger or some big weather event that's going to happen. So that's really our insight piece. Now, what's really critical is those things change. So both context and insight are constantly in change, particularly if we're in a situation where we're talking about a real event that's happening and happening very quickly. Again, a storm's a very good example. So if we have old data, it isn't very much use for us to make decisions against. If we're going to make a decision, we need the best and most up-to-date available to us. This is the really critical jumping point for Geospatial 2.0. We take context and insight and we feed it into a reasoning engine. And there isn't necessarily a generative AI engine. There are, I've mentioned before, Versus and others are taking active inference and doing some other clever things with AI to have this brain in the room with you. And it's really that which is answering that question, what should I do next? It's having the ability to have AI which is being fed with changing insight and context to help you make decisions. It's an aid to you. It isn't replacing you. There's still you in the room, but it's an aid to you. And again, it's critical for me to underline, again, I'm somewhat repetitive, that real-time data feeding the system, real-time context and insight that's feeding the system helps you make better, faster decisions. Now, that reasoning engine can be used in 2 particular ways. If we have a live event that we need to take fast decisions on, that's one way we can use it. But also, it can be used to run what-if scenarios. So if we have more time to spend thinking about what those right decisions are, it isn't an instantaneous decision we've got to make. We can ask those what-if scenarios. What if the storm changes direction and goes to the north of the city, for example, using the storm example? So what if the rainfall increases or decreases? What might that look like? What if we get, double the wind speeds? Again, it's a simple example. A storm example is a good example of something that's changing, either very, very quickly or we've got time to think about it. But it's still something we need to make a very fast decision on. At least we need to make an accurate decision. So that's really the critical piece of this is this reasoning engine, this brain in the room. Then the last piece is the action piece, where we execute. That is what to do next. And really AI can help us make those decisions, whether it is AI activating rescue teams to go out and rescue people, or evacuation people in the storm example, getting some of those more vulnerable populations out of those low-lying areas that are going to flood. AI can help us in taking that action, changing workflows, automating some of those tasks as well. So it's very powerful, 2.0 is. Its future is inevitable. We are moving towards this very digital world. Again, it's LLMs potentially on the front end who understand our intent, our questions that we would ask. It's a reasoning engine which can be the second brain in the room, helping us think through that stuff. The last piece I would add to this is we have this much talk about these smart glasses and augmented reality glasses. Those are fed by questions. Those are powered by AI. Geospatial 2.0 is question-led AI first. That seamlessly moves us into this new world of spatial computing and smart glasses, which many are arguing are going to be our next interface. So the inevitability of Geospatial 2.0, I've kind of described to you there. In human terms, it helps us make faster, better decisions and take action quicker. These new interfaces will allow us, instead of typing, to ask questions of potentially an LLM, which is then powered by a reasoning engine in the background. So all AI first. So again, the future is unfolding very quickly technologically. We are now in a new place where we have new data streams, live static data streams, and we've got AI which is evolving incredibly quickly, not just LLMs, but beyond LLMs. So 2.0 is inevitable. I'm really excited about the journey, one with 2.0. Some of you are beginning to get this. It's my mission in doing these Geospatial 2.0 talks and the newsletter. If you haven't subscribed, there's a subscription note underneath this. I talk about these topics a lot there. So stay in touch with it. I always love feedback, thoughts shared with me. So do that. Apply comments or whatever you want to do. Reach back to me directly. And I'll do another one of these talks very, very soon.